fine. No, stay
or
here,
it doesn't
stay
get
here.
done.
This is fine.
Keep your phones down, please, so we can see back here.
Okay.
Oh, so what's the holdup
Hold up on what?
on a resolution, on a unified consensus voice?
It's no agreement at this point.
Do you think
What
there's a
are
time
the
frame for that?
holdups?
I'm sorry?
Is there a time frame to?
Not that I'm aware of. You'll have to ask the sponsors.
If it were a humanitarian truce, the U.S. would be supportive. It's just that it leads to a ceasefire?
We've talked about humanitarian pauses, and we're interested in pursuing language on that score, but there are disagreements within the Council about whether that's acceptable.
Secretary Blinken said last week that there were some discussions are starting to happen about what might happen in Gaza once the fighting stops, whether a security force might be needed. Have you started any of those conversations here? Is anyone at the Security Council starting to talk about what might be needed?
No, I mean, obviously there is concern about what happens the day after, but we're not at that point.
An Israeli attack killed 4 civilians last Sunday in South Lebanon. Do you consider that as a sign of spread?
Look, we've been concerned about any kind of violence going on along the border with Lebanon, and we've said and we've made very clear that we do not want this war to spread. Okay, so we are working to try to make sure that it doesn't, because we think it's in no one's interest for that war to spread to Lebanon.
With regard to time frame, is it an open-ended sort of time frame for Israel to finish the job? Or is there, for example, a limitation of 7 days, 10 days? Or is it an open-ended agreement between you and them that you can go for whatever it takes?
As far as I understand, there is no open-ended kind of agreement. There's no agreement. Israel will do what it feels it needs to do in terms. You'll have to ask Israel.
What did the U.S. Secretary of State accomplish in his visit this past week?
Well, I think he's accomplished a lot. We're trying to move the dial on, first and foremost, preventing this war from spreading, dealing with the humanitarian situation on the ground. Those are two critical elements, and the hostages, trying to get the hostages out.
How has the humanitarian situation improved?
Well, again, this is something.
I don't think any trucks are even getting through now.
Well, we're trying to get more trucks through. I mean, that's the effort that the Secretary was engaged in this weekend, not just the Secretary, but with other players, including the UN. So, look, this is a difficult situation, and we're trying to do the best we can with the situation on the ground. So it's going to take some time.
Mr. Ambassador, can you tell us what the next step is for the Security Council? Is there another meeting planned? Are there more consultations planned? Is the E10 draft still on the table?
Well, with regard to the E10 draft, you'll have to ask the E10 about that, but I'm sure the President of the Council will want to have further discussions, informal consultations, maybe at some point open briefings. That'll obviously be the subject of further discussion amongst Council members, but that's pretty much where it is at the moment.
And Ambassador, will there be representation of the U.S. at the Paris meeting that they've announced?
I imagine so. I haven't been following that too closely, but I'm sure we will be represented there. Okay.
Ambassador, what is your message to the civilians of Gaza as they wait for the Security Council to come to a consensus?
Look, the message for the civilians in Gaza is that the international community is with them. This is a very difficult time, obviously. We are trying here at the Security Council to come to an agreement on some kind of a path forward. We're doing everything we can. Many people are working extremely hard. Secretary Blinken has been working very, very hard. He did so over the weekend. So we are working hard. We obviously feel for those who have lost their lives. And we obviously feel very much for the civilians of Gaza, but also for the civilians in Israel who have been the victims of a terrible terrorist attack, who have some of their relatives taken hostage. So this is a complicated situation on the ground, and many people, including in the U.S. government, are working to try to do what we can to resolve this issue. Okay, folks?
Thank you. Thank you.
Ambassador, I'm sorry, on the number of deaths, can you clarify something? Because the French ambassador said there were 7,000 and the UN said 10,000.